So the Hardline Beta is almost over, and I thought this would be a good time to give you my opinions and thoughts on how the beta has gone, what I think of the game, and the guns and the vehicles and all that kind of stuff. So, here we go. I'll put some standard gameplay in the background. So first of all, let's talk about the things I like, and that's the maps and the game modes. So this map, although it's got a bit boring because we've played it a lot, is a really good design for an urban map. It's got lots of levels, it's got buildings that you can get onto the roof of, it's got underpasses and overpasses, and it's got a very good structure for an urban battlefield environment. The game modes, they're both interesting. They both promote teamwork because the objectives are far more complicated than a standard Battlefield game mode. So in Heist, you've got 2 packages you've got to collect and deliver to 2 different locations. In Blood Money, you've got the central cash store to raid, you've got the enemy's vault to attack, and you've got your own vault to defend. There's a lot more emphasis on teamwork, and working within your squad becomes very important, because if you're trying to run the money, you need your squad around you to help you out. So the general premise of the game is good. Modes are good, maps are good. What's not so good is the guns and the vehicles. So let's talk about the guns, and we'll start off with the gun mechanics. It seems like they've stripped away everything like accuracy and bullet spread and horizontal recoil and just piled the difference of the guns onto vertical recoil. You've got a gun like the AKM, which kicks like a mule, and you've got a gun like the G36C, which barely kicks at all. Now, okay, the AKM does a bit more damage and has got a longer range, but with the way they've done the attachment system, you're going to have to live with that AKM in its bare state for a long time. Not only do you need the in-game experience in the form of cash, you also need service stars. So to unlock all the attachments, or should I say unlock the ability to buy all the attachments, you need to have got 100 kills with that gun. So to get an underbarrel attachment for the AKM takes 100 kills. So that's 100 kills before you've got a foregrip. But my biggest problem with the guns is the choice of guns themselves. So simple things like giving this Tech 9 to a recon. It just makes the recon class slightly overpowered because it removes their biggest weakness, which is close range. Tech 9 is essentially just a PDW. So the recon is running around with a PDW as its sidearm. Okay, it's not quite as good as a PDW, but it's pretty effective. But that's not my biggest gripe with the choice of guns. My biggest gripe with the choice of guns is why are the police running around with light machine guns? Why are robbers having high-tech military grade weapons? You know, this is supposed to be cops versus robbers. Now I'm hoping this is just a beta, but they've all got the same guns and they're all pretty much full military spec guns. You know, yes, there's a double barrel shotgun in there and there's a taser, but that isn't enough to add flavour to it. I'd much prefer it if the robbers and the cops had different guns, even if it's just down to skins. So the robbers had a kind of AKM-y type of gun, the police were using an M16. Something like that, just to make it look different, because the only difference between the two sides at the moment is the costume they're wearing. And the choices make no sense. Why would a policeman be carrying a laser trip mine or a Stinger missile? Why are the robbers running around with the latest military hardware at all? It's not like there are plenty of guns out there that do hit the streets from different countries. So maybe it's just reskinning things, keep the stats the same but reskin it. So the police can have an M16 but give the robbers some Eastern Bloc street gun. You know, that kind of thing just spoils the atmosphere of the game, and it's even worse for the vehicles. Why are the police driving around in a truck that's got a grenade launcher and a minigun on the top? Why have they got an SUV with a minigun for the robbers? Why is there a helicopter flying around with AA missiles and a massive nose cannon? That makes no sense at all in any way for any side. The game would be much better if the only helicopters in it were unarmed and you could shoot from the sides. So if you want to shoot your assault rifle out the side of a helicopter at the bad guys, fair enough. You know, we've all seen pictures of guys sitting on the skids of helicopters, even SWAT guys do it, and shooting down. That would work. The same with vehicles. You know, here you can see me leaning out the side of a vehicle and shooting. I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is the top of an SUV opening up and there being a minigun in it. That makes no sense. This would be far better if they concentrated on the infantry. You know, have one armoured vehicle that you can shoot out of safely. So the police have got the command truck, the robbers have got the crew cab. Those are fine. They're mobile spawn points. You can have the robbers vehicle having armour plates welded to it. The police can have their command truck. Those make sense. But grenade launchers and miniguns mounted on vehicles makes no sense for an urban police force. The biggest improvement I would suggest to Hardline is make it more infantry focused. So yes, you can have the vehicles, yes you can have the helicopters, but it's the infantry in them that's doing the damage. You know, if it's a guy sitting at the side of a helicopter with an LMG shooting down at you, you can shoot back with your normal guns. You don't need to have stingers in the game, because there's no attack helicopters to take out. And it's a similar story with the vehicles. If they're pretty much normal vehicles with people leaning out the windows, you don't necessarily need to have RPGs in the game. You know, you can get away with just shooting them. And in that way you completely differentiate this game from the rest of the Battlefield series. At the moment it does feel like Battlefield in LA and soldiers with weird uniforms on. You know, there you can see me using an RPG and a Stinger. I'm carrying them both. You know, that is just not what a cops versus robbers game should have in it. My plan for making this more of a cops versus robbers game is if you remove the armour, you remove the need for the missiles, and just make the equipment and guns that the robbers have different to the ones that the police have. Now, I'm not talking about guns with different stats. What I'm saying is effectively reskinning them for the robbers. You know, if the police are going to be running around with the latest military gear or gear that's adapted for police forces, that's fine. But give the robbers something that looks a bit more civilian based. The robbers can have perfectly effective guns, just make them look different. So they've got dressed up hunting rifles, they've got Eastern Bloc guns or South American guns or South African guns. You know, guns that are shipped around the world, not the latest American and European hardware, because what the robbers are equipped with in this game is worth more than the $500,000 they're trying to steal in Heist. They've got 2 helicopters, one that's armed with 2 miniguns, one that's armed with a cannon and air-to-air missiles. They've got latest assault rifles, Stingers, they've got RPGs. Why are they trying to steal $500,000 when they could just sell the 2 helicopters and retire to somewhere in the sun? I think if they turn this into a proper infantry cops versus robbers game, they would have a success on their hands. At the moment, all they have is another version of Battlefield, and that's a shame. So those are my thoughts on the Hardline Beta. Now, if I wasn't running a channel and didn't make videos that would effectively pay for the copy of Hardline, would I pay $60 for it as it stands now? The answer is probably no. I wouldn't pay full price for a game that's essentially just a reskinning and a bit of a reworking of Battlefield 4. As it stands at the moment, the only time I could see me playing Hardline would be when I was a bit bored with Battlefield. Or it's one of those stopgap games that you play while you're waiting for something else to come out. It's certainly not a game that I would buy premium for, at least not at the start. I would give it a good month before I invested money in premium to see if it actually does live up to its Cops and Robbers label. This is an early beta and we don't know what changes they're going to make before release. But at the moment it's not a Cops and Robbers game, it's just another Battlefield. It's running Frostbite 3 and under the hood it's essentially Battlefield 4. And I've already got one of those and I've already paid $60 for it and I've already bought the premium, so why would I want Hardline? We've got a few different game modes, a few different maps and a few different gadgets, and normally if I wanted that in a Battlefield game I'd buy a DLC. I wouldn't spend $60 on a brand new game. That's just my opinion, feel free to differ. But thanks for watching.